End the siege in Gaza now!
As protesters around the world voice opposition to Israel's ground offensive in Gaza, Jewish and Arab Americans are meeting in a cafe in Washington, D.C. and having a different kind of dialogue.
It's great to see so many of you. Obviously, there's a lot of concerned people about what's going on right now in Gaza.
It's called the Peace Cafe, started 8 years ago by Iraqi-American Anas Shalal. He is working to bring people with different views together to foster understanding, so one day the conflict will end.
It seems as though the response is same old, same old.
The results of the Peace Cafe aren't always tangible. They're personal and they're internal, and so they're not really seen necessarily immediately. The impact of the Peace Cafe is really on an individual level. It's about changing people's perception of the other.
Almost 50 people attended the weekend of Israel's ground incursion into Gaza. There were plans for an update by phone from Palestinian human rights activist Mustafa Barghouti in Ramallah. But the phone lines were jammed, so Anas opened up the floor to people to speak their mind. A Jewish woman whose brother was killed by a Hezbollah rocket in 2006 took the microphone.
We can't be dismissive of injustice on either side, and I just think that if we want to go back, we can go back to 1933, where my relatives were killed in Czechoslovakia, or your relatives may too.
She was followed by a young Arab man who had a different view.
I think everyone will agree that attacking civilians is bad, and it will cause casualties, and this should be stopped. But you can't, what's happening now is practically genocide.
Anas Shalal reminded people that the Peace Cafe is not a forum for debate, but rather a chance to transform one's own understanding of conflict by sharing personal experiences and feelings.
If you came here to try to convince somebody else about your point of view, you're not going to win. You're going to walk away really frustrated. I just want to sort of put a reality check for everybody here. We are not here to change U.S. policy. We are not here to change anything except ourselves.
In the last 2 days.
Later, people discussed the situation in small groups. David Walensky, who is Jewish, says it is hard to leave one's past and move forward toward understanding and peace.
Succumbing from the Holocaust, which anyone in my generation has it, and probably in the next generations too, has that in the back of their mind all the time. And because of that, it's very hard to think straight, especially about your enemies.
Ruben Stein, an expert in conflict resolution, says we need to stop looking at conflict as a sport with winners and losers.
Against the other. We need to recognize that when people put their lives at risk and take other people's lives, that's very often because there are basic human needs that are not being satisfied. So what are those needs and how can we satisfy them? Those are the questions.
I'm so glad you did.
Anas Shalal will continue to bring people together at Peace Cafe each month. His hope is to one day end the conflict by transforming each side's perception of the other. Jeff Swicord, VOA News, Washington.